Wacko, welcome in. Get out of the way. How you guys doing this morning? Try to warm up my hands a little bit here while we're got some folks showing up in here. Good morning, guys. Ernesto, how you doing? Bubba 2, welcome in. Just gonna see if I can get my old hands to warm up and start working this morning a little bit. How you guys doing? A Folsom that I was working on the other day, and it actually, when I went to flute it, it fluted from the tip and the base almost the same time, and they met kind of in the middle. So I've seen this on a few artifacts, or examples of artifacts, casts and stuff that I've studied, and I think I can get the other side to flute. So we're gonna give that a shot at some point here. I'm just trying to get warmed up. And hey, Jimmy Sticks and Stones Art, how you doing this morning? Good morning. Let's something a little smaller here. How you guys doing this morning? Whoop. Gonna address this tip just a little bit. That piece that I'm working on is pretty small, so I'm wanting a really fine point or an edge to make contact on that. The smaller area that the tool makes contact with, then the smaller the initiation flake on there. And with these Folsoms, some of them had, I can't remember what the number that they get per inch on some of their flaking, but it's insane. It's like 30 or 28 flakes to an inch, which, that's insanely small. So you really got to have a very fine edge set up to get that kind of flaking, and that starts with the series or two before that final sharpening. So these things have been a thorn in my side, but also an obsession for a while. I keep going back to the Folsoms because of the mystique around trying to get the flutes and the flaking and everything right. It's definitely a technology that was lost to the ages and being trying to be rediscovered. Any of you that are flint knappers or aspiring to be flint knappers are familiar with the Folsom points, and they're incredibly difficult to get right, for sure. Especially with these tools and with non-heat treated material and the like. So just try to get my hands to get it working for me this morning. Oh, we got quite a few people in here this morning. How's everybody doing? I just kind of looked up and realized there's a few folks watching this morning. Thank you for joining me this morning and having some coffee with a caveman. Where's everybody from? Jimmy, thank you for the likes on that. I appreciate it. kind of helping to bump us out there into the algorithm a little bit. It's weird, and a lot of this stuff just shut off. I mean, probably about a month ago. I mean, when the big scare of everything going down, but I went from being in quite a bit of traffic, people coming through and watching and all that stuff, to it just got down to almost nothing. So I appreciate you guys being in here and kind of commenting and interacting. It helps to get it out there, I think. Hey Brad, good morning. Try to set this up. We'll do the other side of the flute on this one today. Hey, appreciate it. Hope you're having a good day. Unless it says at yourself, so I wasn't sure if you were just pep talking or if you're telling me. But if you're telling me, thank you. I appreciate it. And I am. I woke up on this side of dirt, so I consider everything else from the day a bonus, See if I can get a little bit, get one of my little ulna bones here, if I can find one. What have I done with it? Really don't want to start breaking a new one in. Well, I may have to. See how this one will work on it. I don't think it'll work very well, though. It's kind of thin. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I don't like how this one's worn down too much. I've got another ulna bone here somewhere that I have. It's just about where I like working with it, and they'll wear down, and I have others that I have to break in, but it's a lot of thin area here that I try to utilize on these that it takes a while to get them down to where I can really leverage on them a lot. Yeah, let's try that. Sorry guys, I'm a little disorganized this morning and didn't have all my stuff ready to go. I suppose I can make it work with that stuff there. Yeah, I ended up finishing up that piece that we were working on yesterday. Got to a point in it where it was a little bit, it was being stubborn. There was like some kind of little crystal type pocket in there. And I ended up having to, I went ahead and turned it into a Cumberland point because the profiles worked for it, but it was not going to work as a Folsom. So, and right here, what I'm doing is I'm popping out these little spaces on either side of the platform, because I'm trying to make a weak spot for that flake to detach. Especially on this second side, you want to have that flake go off, you know, a little easier. That's too far out. You want it to take less force, I guess, to detach, and put more of that energy towards traveling down the piece. Now I've got a platform set there, and now I'm going to flake the edges and turn those in a way where it isolates that ridge as much as I possibly can. Now this piece is already really thin, so if the flute doesn't travel the whole distance, it would have still been an acceptable, you know, not all of the Folsoms were fully fluted to the tip. So as long as the thinning area, in fact, I've got a couple, I've got one in my collection that's only fluted on one side and was used because it was so thin. So a lot of it just depends on how thin or thick the point is. All right, now let's see if we can isolate that ridge down the center here. Got a couple of little flakes here that I need to take. Just trying to get that edge that I'm getting ready to go and flake this side. So I'm just trying to make sure that the platform that I'm going to put my tool on to take this next series of flakes, I want it to be pretty precise to where I can set an angle with the flakes coming off there. Same thing on this side, but this side looks a lot better. So, and what I'm doing here by grinding this, Paul, thank you for liking the live. I appreciate it. What I'm doing by dulling this and rounding this area off is if it's too sharp, the edge will break away before you can transfer the energy from your tip of your tool into the stone. Now, this part of it it's kind of it's a experience thing, because if you grind it too much, if you grind that edge too much and make it too strong, then it takes too much force to detach the flake. And you have to put that force into the tool, so it end up, a lot of times breaking a piece because you're having to press so hard to get it to detach. Or if you don't grind enough, it detaches before you're able to put enough force into the flake or into the stone, and it'll go out and you'll get a step fracture or just a crumbled up looking edge. So there's a fine line between not grinding it enough and grinding it too much, especially with antler tools. You can get away with a little bit more with modern, with mild steel and copper and that kind of stuff. A lot of guys use horseshoe nails as their final finishing edge stuff. And you can get away with a little bit more of a ground edge than you can. But with antler tools, if you grind it too much, you've basically just shot yourself in the foot. Because then you've got to fix that edge, and the only way to fix the edge is to break the edge, and that's the problem to begin with if you ground it too much. So, Sonia, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I'll see if I can quit gabbing this morning and do some stuff. Let's start with this one. Now, what I'm going to try to do is, you see that little area right there in the center that I set up? The flute will be coming off this face. So I want to take flakes from these platforms downward and isolate somewhat of a ridge down the center. Good morning, Sonia. And again, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. And all I'm doing with these is I'm applying downward force with just a little bit of in, but mainly down, and pressing until if you notice, there's not like I'm not forcing that flake off there. What I'm trying to do is to let the tool build up force, or I'm applying pressure slowly and gradually, getting more and more until it gets to the point where the rock releases that flake. If you go at it violently, like try to take too much, with force at once, a lot of times you'll end up, I don't want to say blowing through, but it's kind of like if you hit an edge with a bopper or any kind of percussor. Well, that one wrapped over the whole top of that. But if you hit it too hard, then it just crumbles the edge, and you don't end up with a detachment of the flake. This one I'm going to have to be really careful that it doesn't go all the way across. So the angle is really important. And it still tried to. You can see the remnants of that, but it's like I told you guys, whether you're pressure flaking, whether you're doing indirect, direct, whatever tool you're using, the concept is the same. It's just the amount of force and the size of the tool is the only difference. And if you hit this too hard and you make it break before it's ready to, like you're trying to force too much energy into the piece before it's built up enough pressure in there where you're going to get the flake or the result that you want. You can see that little series down that, how that kind of gave me like a hollow ground, and it took a lot of that mass right off the edge. Good morning, Zach. And now, let's get this other side. But this thing is going to be super thin. This would be, whatever flute I get on this other side will be plenty, because this piece is really thin. CD's going to try to skip on me for a little bit here. Somebody was talking, I think it was Zach, somebody was talking about Midland, Texas the other day, and that's another point style that I like that's associated with these, the Folsoms. A lot of people refer to the Midlands as an unfluted Folsom. The profiles are almost identical, and they have found the Midland points in association with the Folsoms, and then they've also found areas where it was just Midland. So that was at a point where they just decided, hey, we don't need to flute these anymore. We're going to use them as a unfluted point. So once these are thin enough, like I said, the flute is not absolutely necessary it's just the way that they did them. So once the subsequent cultures, Brenda, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Once subsequent cultures realized that wasn't, as needed to do what they needed to do, then they stopped doing it, because, it's like I said before, it was like a 60% they said 40 to 60% failure rate in the manufacturing of these things. So, if you're busting basically half of everything. Dylan, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. But if you're busting literally, half of what you're doing, and that's what you do for a living. I mean, think about it, guys. If you, whatever you do for a living, if 50% of the time what you did, was a failure in it, like half of the work that you do in the day was no good and done for nothing, it would get pretty frustrating. And that's what, like I said, the archaeologists, that's what they estimate is between 40 and 60% failure on these. And that's, like I said, the people that did it for a living. So reproducing these points is a, anytime I get one that finishes out, well, I've shown you guys these are, I did these last weekend. Anytime you get, that make it through the process, to me that's a win. And those are both really nice. They're really close to the casts that I've been using for study. So again, this is just one of those point styles for me that the difficulty to reproduce it, I think, is really what makes me want to learn how to make them. And I've made a few successful ones, but there's just, when you get one right, and you can just tell by the contours and everything that it's right where it's supposed to be, and it would have been just what it would have been done, historically. I don't know, to me that's kind of, I get a rush from that, because I know that I know that realistically I'm not doing exactly like what they did, I know that, but I'm getting pretty close, Hey, Mad Dog, good morning. Take this side down just a little bit more. And like I said, if we can get this to flute, there's a little bit of a low spot in the middle of it, right up here just in front of that. And if I can get it to flute just to the front edge of that, I'd be happy. I don't want it to dive in and break there. So, and there's a possibility we could actually take another flute from the other side. That'd be maybe a little different. Have a reverse flute on both sides. I don't know if I've ever seen an artifact like that, but I'm sure that it was done. I don't think there's a whole lot that we can do now that hasn't been done. When you think about the number of people and the multitude of points, I mean, you think about everybody that has probably got an arrowhead or two in their collection, and some of the huge collections and some of the museums, and they still pull thousands of them a day out of the ground. So I would venture to say that there's not a lot that hasn't been done. We just haven't found it all, All right, get my hands down. These are Mad Dog. I finished it up actually off camera, and I turned it into a Cumberland, like a little small Cumberland. It had once I got down in there was like a crystal pocket in it that I could not get it to budge, so I ended up just making a different point style out of it. But it's a nice one. If you want to check it out, I posted a little video of it laying on the book that I was using as a reference for the base and everything. And I'm just working the edge up on this, so we're gonna try to flute this one. I think I'm gonna do one more pressure pass here, really try to isolate this, and then we're going to try to flute this side of this. Got the other side of it is fluted. Right on. Thank you, I appreciate that. All right, let me get one more. But I want some really sharp or nice detachment where the flakes come off. So I'm gonna sharpen this up just a little bit, and then see, and it's kind of a, you don't want it sharp as much as you do just more precise, and because I'll end up rounding off the tip. I don't want it to be like rough textured. I want it to be more, I don't know, it's hard to describe. It's like almost burnished at this stage, especially because I'm not trying to grip into it. I'm just trying to pop these little flakes off. And there's a difference in the way that the technique works. If you're pushing that tool in and then you're letting it like grab in with all that roughness, with these, if you try to do that, you're putting so much force into that you take a big chance of breaking the piece. Because I mean, you can see how thin this thing is. You can't be torquing on that. What's the proper thing to do? Can somebody post that up or repost that for me? I'd like to respond to. I mean, the proper thing to do depends on, to me, you know, your personal feelings on the situation, but then also what context was it found in, you know? I don't dig. I'm not a point digger. I'm not a material digger. I don't dig in the ground for that stuff. I have found a few on the creeks and stuff, and a few in some plowed fields when I was young. That's how I got started in flint knapping, was following my grandpa around places like that. But for me, the context, you know, has a lot to do with it for me personally. And again, that's my personal feelings, you guys. I don't ever try to force what I believe on you or anything. But to me, if I've found it in a creek or in a way like that, for me, that's a gift. You know, that's the universe saying, you know, here you go. Again, I don't dig overhangs. I don't have anything against people that do. I'd like, you know, if that's stuff that you like to do, that's fine. But me personally, if I find them in the context of a creek or a field where I'm walking it, it's been, you know, then yeah, and that's typically what, you know, probably what happened, James. If it's still in usable condition, then more than likely it was, you know, shot and lost. And then, you know, if you're an archer, every one of us that's sitting here that shot an arrow has had one slide up under the grass that, you know, you find 3 years later when you cut the yard, or, you know, that was back when I shot aluminum. Now my arrows now, if you lose one, it's just done. If it spends a rainstorm or two outside, then it's pretty much junk. So yeah, very well, you know, very likely could be a lost arrow. But yeah, sorry for the long answer there. I guess it's your own personal feelings as to what the proper thing to do is. Now, I definitely don't, you know, advocate or condone any burial diggings or anything like that in no way, shape, or form. So, and that's part of the context of, now I know that, you know, archaeological diggings and that type of stuff with, you know, permission of you know, all of the associated parties, that's one thing, but to me, that's just not my bag, baby. after this little pass here, we should have a nice little ridge. Now this one's going to look a lot like, let me see if I can, you don't really realize just how tiny some of these Folsoms are until you start looking at some of the casts of the originals. Now, you know, my work is not even close to as fine as some of these. Let's see if I can find, but this piece should come in somewhere in the same group or same size as stuff like this. I'll bring the ends in on this next flaking pass coming back the other way. But yeah, that's kind of the profile that I'm shooting for on this one. There were bigger ones, there's small ones, you know, so, but for the most part they were, you know, 4 inches or less in length, but most of them are around 2 to 2.5 inches. That's what a lot of the, you know, like the Lindemeyer pieces. So when you go into making these points and you think, I mean, they're just really dainty, minuscule points. They're not a robust, thick point, so. See, that platform was just a little bit stronger than the others, and so was that one. So you have to be really careful that you don't take too much out and flatten out that ridge that we're trying to build there. Now let's go down this side. Just kind of shape everything up. It's like I said, that's the thing with these, this point style, is that the people that did this every day broke half of them, you know? So until I get closer to the formula, you can expect to break them. And that's the frustrating part for me, is you spend a lot of time and a lot of work on one, and then in one shot you can break it. Trying to find this one's, yeah, that'll work. Something sharp to, got a little bit of a spot here I want to. All right, we're going to give it a shot. This one's pretty thin. Yeah, it just barely going to set in between the forks of my. Yeah, this thing's so thin, I'm not even sure that it's going to register with the little block in the back there. But what I'm doing here, I'm just trying to isolate this just to, you're essentially giving this piece more mass by, I don't like how that's pushing on those little ears. I'm going to have to be really careful with that, or I'm going to break off one of the ears there. Right on, Zach. Yeah, my sister and I had our stuff done here a few years ago, and I don't have any Native American lineage at all. What I do have, though, is like 96 percentile, or I have more Neanderthal blood or lineage than 96% of the people tested at that time. Now that's, changing, and it could go up or down depending on, as they test more people. But so that's kind of the, hey Jeffrey, thank you for the follow, I appreciate it. That's kind of the reason for the name on my deal. I started doing some research and found out that my German ancestors and all that stuff, and they actually came from the Neander Valley. That's the area of the world that my family comes from. So my great grandfather moved here from Germany. All right, now I'm gonna warm up just for a second with this. I want to make sure that I've got the angle in my head right and all that good stuff. So I've just got a little piece here I've been working on as a test piece, or I don't say test piece, but like a warm up. See, and that's those first few shots there. That's the reason that I do the warm up, because if I would have done that on that preform and hit at that odd angle like that, I could have broke it in half, that vibration, because you're basically hitting it from the end. It's, those of you that have flint knapped very much, you know what end snap is. When you hit that piece on the end of either end, the base or the tip, a lot of times you'll have them and they'll snap right in the center. And that's because you're putting a vibration that's going through that rock. It's that force, and it's looking for a place to get out. And if you don't have your contours set and are in a way where it's got a place to go, it'll just break your piece every time. So that's why I want to, just get a few shots on here and kind of ingrain in my head the angle that needs to be. It's like I was saying yesterday when we were talking about fluting that, if you're off like a degree or two, that can be the difference between a really nice flute and a broken piece, or a flute that only goes, halfway up the piece and then just stops. So there's a pretty fine line in there of the angle that it needs to be. All right, I'll take a couple more flakes off here, and I think feel pretty okay with attempting a flute, because this is a very similar type of flake. I'm just gonna, you can see that's isolated right there, and there's an area of mass with a little bit of a seam right here that I'm gonna try to go parallel to and flatten the center of that out. Just like that. See that travel all the way out to the center. So did that one. We'll just get it from the other side since we're already here. Stone and Bone Napping, good morning. How you doing, Don? Combination of percussion plus. Well, it's part of the reason on, are you talking about on the Folsoms? Jack, thank you for the follow, I appreciate it. But Blake, are you talking about on the Folsoms as far as the convexity of the fluting? Or just, see, I just came from the other side on that. Well, I dropped the platform. But I met up to the other side of what we just took off over here, and you can see how thin this is for the width. Yeah, I saw, Don, where you can download it again. So it looks, did you download it back on your phone? Right on, right on. All right. Tell you what, I'm gonna try. I know I said it a second ago. I'm gonna do one more flake here, and this is a good. If I can get this to run in this angle, I know I've got the angle kind of in my head. There's the platform that I'm gonna hit right here, and you can see this area all the way down into here, where there's. Let me see if I can turn it where you can see it. That mass that's right underneath there, and it goes all the way down to, there's like a little bit of a step right here. Yeah, Jeffrey, oh guys, thank you. Thank you for subscribing again. I know that there's been an issue and they haven't been able to, that makes me happy because I know that there were people that were subscribing and I appreciate it so much. And we did last month's subscription giveaway. This is going to go out to Bubba. I'm headed to the post office today to send this to the winner of last month. And I really, it was looking like, yeah. And Todd, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Because, it was to a point where they weren't going to, they weren't allowing new subscriptions. I didn't want to leave the people that were, had already subscribed in that month in limbo, but there was no way to, so it was kind of messed up. So I tell you what, guys, as we got, with 6 active again, so we get up to 10, and I'll do if we've got 4 more people, you guys want to encourage some more people to subscribe, I'll do a point giveaway for this month, even though we've only got a couple of weeks left in it. So let's get back up there, and I'll do a point giveaway at the end of February. All right, let me get this flake here. We're going to see if we can pull off a little magic. You can see this step right here, and then all this mass right in front of it. And I'm going to use that platform. It's upside down right now, but that platform right there, and I'm going to run that back into this area right here. I can tell you by the way it felt, that's exactly what it did. Now you can see where I was trying to get to that step right here, and that's exactly where it ran to. And you can see I didn't have to hit that very hard to get that flake to remove. It was all about the convexity of that piece. And you can see how that flake is curved, how it from where it initiated, it wants to curve. So yeah, that was a good flake. We're going to set that one aside. We'll finish that one up. I'm hoping that carries over to this. We're getting ready to. We're going to set this up real good. But yeah, Todd, thank you again for subscribing. That I didn't know what was going on with all that. I couldn't figure it, but I guess they figured out whatever they needed to do to, get their money. All right, let's give it a shot. Well, that's just about too small to get my antler tip in there without hitting those ears. Yeah, it broke off that other ear, but I think it fluted it pretty well. That one just about blew up in my face. I could feel the shrapnel coming off of it. There was dust coming out of that. I mean, when that flake blew. Another reason why I tell you guys, yeah, that just fell out of my hair. So I knew that we were pushing it close with the way that was setting right up against the edge of that. You can see how that I lost one of the little tips off there. And it did break it. And it broke right where the flutes matched up the other day. But what we did get, and this is the promising part, guys. This is what keeps me going. I hit that too hard, is what a lot of that was right there. That was my fault. But what we got on this side now would have had a full flute. So we would have been, you know, I hit it too hard, and I was probably yeah, it hit a kind of a flat spot. I didn't have enough right in here. The width, it spread right there and then rolled in and broke. But like I said, no, and it looks like it actually looks like it tried to come from the tip on this side. But either way, on to the next one, huh? Kind of like, I've got a guy on YouTube that I watch, Marling Baits, and he always is on to the next bait. You know, that's why I keep some of these sitting out here, guys. Blake, thank you for the subscription. Yeah, guys, that's awesome. I really do appreciate the support. We're gonna do a giveaway to the subscribers at the end of this month. I'm happy that everything is somewhat back to normal. Here's a couple that I did this weekend. You can see the profile on those. They're super flat, nice little pieces. So that's kind of what helps keep me going. You know, that's the first one I've broken like that in a while, and that's okay because I got, you know, the full flute on it. It was kind of a repair job anyway. So all right, now let's see, guys. I'll let you guys pick what you want to. I've got some Buffalo River. I've got this little hardcore turtle shell or turtleback with a lot of. Thank you, Natural Nap Knives. I appreciate it. Justin, thank you for the subscription, guys. Thank you so much. My goodness, that's awesome. And again, I haven't even come up with a point to give away for this month. Don, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, guys. Man, you're number these 1, 2, 3. All right. 1, 2, 3. Guys, what do you want to see me napping? Natural Nap Knives, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. 1. You want to see the little turtleback? Now, Brizzo, 2. Okay, we got 1, 2. Still. There are some, Roland, that show being reworked. In fact, 3, 2. Okay. All right, we'll start with this one. It's got a seam in it. This 2. It looks like it's. But yeah, there are some. I actually saw a piece the other day that was baffling some of the archaeologists and the typologists that were looking at it, and what they finally determined that it was a Clovis that had been reworked in prehistoric times into, I can't remember the point style now, but it was something completely different from the Clovis, but because of some of the attributes of it, they determined that it was a Clovis that was probably found prehistorically, because they picked up, if you're out there making knives to live with, and then you find one that's finished on the ground or that's going to require very little work, you're absolutely going to rework it. So I would say that a lot of these points that, are rare type points were probably, anytime they were found, they were reworked. So yes, to make a short answer long, there are records of them reworking them prehistorically. Get a fresh incense, and I tell you what too, guys, I'm gonna 420, welcome in. I am going to try to wean myself off of the coffee. I'm trying to go caffeine free, so I have got some herbal teas and some stuff coming in. Right on top. Well, thank you for the subscription, man. I appreciate it. I really do. You guys, the support is awesome, and I'm hoping to be able to continue, making the content that you guys want to see. Well, Blake, I'm going to give it a shot. I mean, the only coffee that I drink. Hey, dear Trail, how you doing? In my morning coffee with a caveman here. That's all I usually drink is, in the morning is just those 2 cups of coffee. But then I'm getting to the point where it's difficult for me to go to sleep at night, even with the caffeines, the morning coffee. I found right on. Yeah, there was some bad stuff going around, Kenny. I've had the sinus stuff for a while myself. All right, now, just as I'm not gonna use it as an excuse, but I'm gonna show you guys. This has got a big seam that's running right across there. You can see some of the remnant of it here. It runs right across this piece, and then there's an area of junk right here. So if it breaks right here, that's more than likely the reason why. I'll admit it if it's my bad, so. You were wondering about the seam? Yeah, well, we're gonna try to work around it. There is definitely one there. You can see how it's right here, and it kind of undercuts and goes this way. So we're gonna try to work around it. Start off with let's see how it likes this softer, kind of draggy hammerstone here. Zach, thank you for the subscription, man. I appreciate it. Guys, that's awesome. We'll do a nice giveaway here in a couple of weeks at the end of the month. Anybody that's an active subscriber in February will be eligible. And you don't have to be present to win. So, man, I appreciate it a lot. Anytime we have a subscription giveaway, you don't have to be in here at the time that I draw it. I'd like for everybody to be if you can, and I'll announce them when I do it. But yeah, you don't have to be glued to your phone when I do the giveaway. You will be notified for sure. I think Don is in here. I haven't seen Bubba yet, but both of those guys have won subscriber points from me. Yeah, me too, Don. And I appreciate you, man, subscribing and everything and the support. It really means a lot to me, guys. So, all right. I'm going to work around this little seam here. I don't want to hit it from the end into this. Hold on a second, guys. The puzzle piece police here. And it's cold this morning, and I was looking at the forecast. By next week, we're supposed to have, by Wednesday, I think the low is going to be like -2 here, which just, I hate. It's supposed to be 50 degrees tomorrow, and then 3 days later not get out of the low 20s. Yeah, that one's a little bit thin for a... It's like I told you guys, though, we're not going to go directly, like you don't want to go perpendicular to that seam or that crack. Whenever possible, you want to try to hit with it. Right now, I'm just trying to that'll make a point, though. Just try to turn an edge here. That will give me an angle to come back over the top of this and take some of this mass off. Because right now, the tip and the base, you can see how clunky and thick that is. Now, if I attack it too quickly, I don't hold out a lot of hope for this piece. It's probably going to break here, but I'm going to try to take it easy and play for the best results on it. This is a Buffalo River chert. A little bit harder hammerstone there. See those, you can see how really thin those are. I'm just dragging them off the face of that. And all I'm doing, I'm trying not to get them to go out there and step too much. I'm just lowering this edge little by little. If you try to go at it too quick or too aggressively, you end up making contours in the piece that you have to go back and fix later. So my goal is to get this edge set so that I can come back across this area of mass here and flatten this piece out. This side is fairly flat with a little bit of mass here, and then we've got this big area over here, but I want to try to roll some of this into that and remove that if possible. All right. Let's see how much of this is. Some of this is going to be right at the edge of the camera, guys, and I apologize, but rather than reset everything up, I'm not going to use this punch for very long. It's just a heavier punch. And it'll transfer the energy a little bit better, the mass that I'm wanting to use it for. Try to take a flake from here and kind of take the back side of this ridge off. It may break it in half because of that seam, but this is a really good setup to take a lot of mass if it'll hold together. So just like that. And you can see how that affected the top of this, really smoothed that out a lot. And it left us a There's a little bit of a ridge there, but you can see there's like an undercut right here. And you have to be really careful when you hit into something like that that you don't put a big step fracture in there. We're gonna take a couple of flakes right here. And these are just those, like a blending type flake. I'm just kind of turning this edge to give me a shot at this side, because this is pretty flat. I'm not trying to make big removals. I will here in a little bit right here, but you got to learn when to take those flakes and when to set it up for something else. And so many, especially new nappers, that's the first thing that you want to do is you want to, see, I was just trying to roll that under that little spot. But you want to take too big of flakes too quick before everything is set up. See, I should be able to take this flake right here is going to take off the last, or part of the last of this big knob that's right here. I'm going to hold it at a higher level or angle like this and support to the back of that. And you can see how that went right over the top of that. And it kind of rolled into there's definitely a seam with some chalky stuff right there. But take a little bit off the tip of this just to thin it down a little. You know, we're trying to get it to where we're thinner on the ends with the mass in the middle, and we're working towards that. Now this edge is set up really nice for this. You can see how that's pretty beveled to this side. I'm going to set a ridge to start with. It's kind of like, and this will make a lot of maybe sense. I know Don has been watching me quite a bit, but any of you guys, excuse me, any of you guys that watch me nap, what I'm doing right here with this, if you just imagine this as a preform, as a small, let me find something a little or smaller. Oh goodness. Well, I'll just use this. But a while ago, like when we're gonna take off an area of mass, you start at that tip and you give it like a little, I use a pressure flaker and I kind of isolate that ridge. Well, it's just like I've told you, every process of this, or every deal is the same. It's just the size of the tool and the amount of force that you put into it. So if you imagine this as a little preform, and I've got the edge set up and I'm going to put a pressure flaker tip on there, I'm going to push in and pull down. That's what I'm doing with this. It's the same process, just the tools and the force are different. And I'm going to try to sneak this one along this back here and flatten that little ridge out. You can kind of see how there's a lot of extra mass right there. Yeah, my angle was wrong. Angle was wrong. I tried to set it too deep. You see how I made a step fracture in that? So now we got to fix that. That's why I said I don't like, I tried to take too much and force too much on that. So what we'll do to fix that, and any of you that have done this, this would be something that, you know, how the way you learn how to do this is, you know, as far as fixing this is screwing up and doing and putting that problem in yourself. So, you know, that's why I tell the story. I had a buddy of mine I used to fish with a lot, and we'd go down a bank throwing a spinnerbait or something, and he, you know, right up in the trees, and he would be hung up in every freaking tree down the bank. And he said, man, he said, I noticed you throw it in the trees sometimes too, but you always get your bait back. And I said, well, it's just a technique. You know, you let it, you pull it up just under the limb, and then while it's swinging, then you wait for it when it's swinging out, you kind of flip it up over the limb. And he said, well, you're really good at that. How did you get good at that? I said, by throwing it over and getting hung up in every limb on the bank. You learn to fix this stuff by screwing up. And that's just, you know, when you see somebody fixing a screw up, you think, wow, that's really cool, until you think about, wow, I wonder how many times he had to screw up before he figured out how to fix that. Yeah, it's going to be a nice piece, Zach, but I've got a seam that runs right through the middle of it, and I was trying to get a bunch of it right there. I don't like having to hit it this hard to do what I'm getting ready to do, but I'm gonna try to take a flake diagonally, and I'm hoping that it'll kind of spread and take some of this edge over here. And if it doesn't work, then we're gonna back up and look at it and try a different technique or a different approach. But I think I can go around it with this. Got some of it anyway. But what it did was it set up another edge here. Yeah, this is just was a good quality piece of raw buffalo. All right, let's see if we can get some of that backside of this here. See, that flake went over the whole top of that, all the way to this side over here. And we've got just a little bit of that screw up from earlier right there. A little bit of mass here. All right. Go back to that smaller punch. I can get a little bit more precise placement on the platforms with this. There's the other half of that, where that came out. Nap time, he says. Absolutely. Kenosha Ken, how you doing? Kenku. All right. I was trying to push those to see if they'd go up that hill, and they did not. That's okay though. Like I said, we've got plenty of material to give on this. It's a pretty chunky piece of material, so. Yeah, I kind of straightened it up a little bit. Kenosha, I've got a guest coming on Monday. I don't know if Justin's in here right now, but Justin is coming over to nap with me on Monday. So it's kind of picking up out here a little bit, and so it wouldn't be quite as much of a shrapnel center. I took about a 3-gallon bucket of flakes to my pretty chip pile. The only thing about, like with the antler, anytime that you're dealing, oh, absolutely, Zach. I mean, if as long as you keep I'm working to make it, as lenticular from side to side as I can and from end to end as I can, and if you're working with it, instead of trying to make it flat and then shape it, I'm trying to shape it as I bring the margins in. It conserves material. You don't go through near as much rock that way. You can get a bigger piece. Well, you're kind of new to watching me, but I've done some, with pieces of rock that most people would walk by, and I can make a point out of it because I'm conserving that material as I work it. If you go in, and part of that is because, it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier. If you go in too aggressively on there, you're adjusting your margins, and you're doing stuff that you're going to have to go back and fix, and you start losing size of your material. But if you use, platforms that are available to you as you're working it, and just, try to keep thinking that you're working well, like you said, I'm trying to keep that center line and everything within reason, because that's what I'm working off of. Once I get this, you can see this area here is fairly thin up on the tip. I don't want to remove any more from this, so I want to start moving into this mass. Well, to get into that mass, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, this is almost like a square edge. Now, the only thing about, and what I was getting ready to say is, anytime it's the creek tumbled or the weathered rock like this, the antler will just bounce off of it. It doesn't do well grabbing at that. You're almost going to have to use a hammerstone. Or you come in, and this is almost like, okay, any of you guys work slabs, working a square edge, zigzagging it. Well, this is not perfectly square, it's got an angle to it a little bit, but the concept is the same. So I'm going to put this tool this way, take a flake down, and then I'm going to use the platform from that removal. There's a little one right here next to it. I like to try to keep everything, clean and tidy as I'm working through it, but all right, now I took that flake this direction, and now I've got a little platform, but it's steep. I'm not going to try to take a lot of material. I'm just going to try to roll this to take some of that mass. And the way you do that is a steep, like this is flat. I'm going to be like this, and I'm going to have my finger on that ridge that I'm running it. You can see this finger is, there's the ridge that I want it to go down. I've got my finger up underneath there, and I'm cradling it and turning it like this. So I'm going to pull with my finger this way to try to encourage that flake to wrap around that mass. like that. And you can see how that just went right up over the top of that little, like a hill there, and it adjusted that edge. So now, use that last removal there. Actually, I'm just going to take a little flake here. Like I said, I like to keep everything fairly, trimmed and uniform as I go along, because it just, I break fewer pieces that way. Whenever everything is sloppy and I've got unground, uneven edges and removals, I end up having pieces break when I feel like it wasn't really my fault. And what it is you've got a sharp edge on this piece, and that vibration that you're sending through the rock, if it causes a split on that very thin edge, then it's propagating a crack, and that could go right through the piece. I mean, even the tiniest little crack can cause a piece like this to split in half, especially when you've got this much length to it. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing again here. This is not going to be as big a flake. It's just more of a contouring flake, just to kind of keep that edge turning that way. If I can get it hooked on it. There it went. See, it was just a little flake. I didn't want a lot. It was just a little to continue that. Because if I'd have taken a big gouging flake right there, it would have drastically caused this edge to go in, and I would have had to try to fix that later. Now what we've got is an area here. It's really steep, and it's that river tumble. It's really smooth. The antler is it's less than worthless, or worse than worthless, however you want to put it, on that kind of a material, on that polished edge like that. About the best thing that you can do is use a hammerstone. But what I try to do, I'm gonna put a little bit of a dust on there to give it a little bit of grip and rough that up just a little. And then it's just a nice, easy, straight down, and there's a future arrowhead right there. And see what that did is that now that's got this area here isolated a little bit more. Gonna tap this back to get it out of my way. I'm actually gonna take a flake on this way, because this area here is too steep, and if I hit into that, it's going to cause this to it'd be a deep flake. I've got a little bit of material to lose right here anyway, so since that'll be a good flake right there for this. This is where I try to get you guys to see stuff in a little bit. You don't have to, everything is not in a 90-degree, this way, this way, this way hold. Whenever you get a specific platform like this one, let's see if, okay. I'm gonna put the tip of this tool on this little nub right here, but instead of trying to go in this way, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to wrap it at an angle this way. And I'm going to support it underneath that and have this, it's hard to show you the angle, but like this would be flat. I'm going to tilt this up both this way and try to direct that force right along this mass right here to remove that without losing a whole bunch of size to the piece. You see what that did? And what it did was give me a little bit of a scooped out angle right here, so that I can take this material and set myself back up for the other side. That one stepped a little out there on that, but that was kind of one of those necessary evils. I had to do that to get the angle that I'm wanting to get this extra mass off here. But I can fix that with this flake right here. So now we've just about worked through, there's some of that, part of what's causing that seam. There's some impurities in this, so. All right. We'll start working from this end. We're gonna try it. Now you can see we're getting closer and closer to, we're thin on the base and the tip with our mass in the center. And once we get to this point of the reduction, it gets much easier to work with this. It's just, let me see. Make sure I'm in the right orientation here to get everything. Sometimes you get to looking at something and forget where I was at with it. Don't want to take the wrong flake, but this right here should take almost like a big flute flake down this edge. I hit it too hard. It went to right there, but I hit it too hard. I crushed. I can see the crush on the end of that where I hit it. So back off the power. See, it doesn't take much to get those flakes, and that's, I get, jazzed up and start hitting it too hard, and you're gonna end up, causing issues for yourself. So I'm gonna try to shoot this one underneath this mess right here. If it works, it'll be great, and if it doesn't, it's not gonna hurt me that much. So well, it tried to get an, oh, there's a bunch of crap. That's why it broke a while ago. You see that pocket of crap that came out right there? That's right where that flake stopped a while ago. So, all right. Looking to see here. I'm just trying to catch that edge, just barely like that. Don't want these, a big removal flake. These are just to turn it so that I can get an angle on this side. That was a good one for it. Harder hammerstone. Well, that is just crushing up there. All right, let's try to fix this mess. This is a similar flake to that one we took a while ago. We've got an area of mass right here, but instead of trying to hit straight down into it, I'm going to tilt this and then tilt it this way and get that flake to run underneath that area, just like that. See how that curled? Look how curled that flake is. That's what I'm telling you guys, how they like to go over a surface with a curve. You can see how that looped right up over the top of that. Guys, hey, Clusie, thank you for the follow, I appreciate it. Wasn't sure if I was still broadcasting, like it kind of, I felt like I may have put everybody to sleep this morning. Grab your coffee. Oh, yeah, I'm already second guessing my decision to give up the coffee, but we're gonna do it. Hey, Pierce Jr., thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. All right, let's see if we can get this area here where that flake stopped a while ago. You can see the junk in that right there where it's causing me all kinds of issues. So we're gonna see if we can't eliminate that. Colby, I've been napping for, well, not continuously, but I started 30 years ago, but I got kind of serious about it about 10 years ago. And I switched over to these tools right around that time. So I saw a Marty Reuter video, man, flint napping tips, and I was like, that's how I'm supposed to nap. And that's what I have used since. And it has been at times extremely humbling using these tools, because it's a different skill set for sure than the modern tools that I learned with. So see, and you can see that crack and that anomaly in that flake that we just went over the top of that and removed how was that sitting? Yeah, like that. We got into the back side of where that just matched up, and then it's perfect. Jerry, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. A boggy bottom. With this, I'm not familiar with. I think I know. Are those? Do they have like a round base on them? I'm trying to remember. I think that's what is coming to mind when you say that. That may be, yes, okay. And then it's like a lanceolate blade, like a longer, thinner blade, more similar to this style, but with a rounded base on it. I've got I don't have my book out here. Southeast Point. Right on. Well, let me, and this would be, this material would make one, you think? How far southeast? This is Buffalo River. Would that have been a material that they would have typically used for that? Or is that way more south, like Georgia, Florida, Alabama kind of stuff? Because I've got a piece at that, and I need to check and see if it's heat treated and all that stuff. I've got a couple of pieces of material. Actually, this is from Georgia. This is some really nice Georgia material here. I tell you what, let me work this down to a biface. I'll go get my reference book, and we'll see if we can't work this down into oh gosh, it's already 9:30. Goodness gracious. Where is the time gone this morning? Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not probably going to finish this up this morning, but I will look up, let me get a biface done of this, get it thinned down, and then I'll have a look-see on a Boggy Creek style, and I've got some material, and I like to see if it's if they used heat-treated material or if it was raw stone. When I try to make these, I'm making them as close to what the originals would have been as far as material and techniques and all that. So I can do some studying on that, and I was trying to think of when I could go live and do some work on it. If you guys would tune in and watch, I might go live, you know, like one day this weekend and work on and what was it called again? It was a boggy, I thought I'd seen like a boggy creek but I think I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen it in my Overstreets book. So I'll get on live, because like I said, I won't be able to finish that up in 30 minutes today for sure. But I will definitely set a piece aside, and the next time you come in, remind me, and I will make one out of some material that's, you know, that would be correct for that point style. And you know, like I said, guys, I'll make just about whatever point style you want to see me try to make. But I want to make sure that I'm making it from material that it would have been made from or could have been made from, and a tool or a technique that it would have been used to do that. And the reason that I do that, you know, like I said, I like to try to, I got nothing against how you want to nap. You know, there's a lot of folks out there that are making like these Folsoms. They're making Folsoms out of heat-treated material with, you know, a guillotine or a guillotine. I've made a few pine trees, Warren. In fact, I've got a couple. If you go up here, if you want to see some, I've posted some, a couple of videos of one of them that I made out of some really pretty Buffalo River, and then the other one was out of, I think it was a piece of heat-treated Crowley's Ridge. But I've made a couple of them that I've done live. So yeah, absolutely. I'd be more than happy to make a pine tree. Those are pretty involved as far as the pressure flaking and everything, but we may make a preform, and then I can change that camera angle, and I can show you the pressure flaking part of that. Well, see, just like what I'm trying to practice what I preach. Fishtail Bentons. You'd like to see me make one of those? Right on. I tell you what, guys. Let me. Let's see. Where's my? Got a dry erase board here somewhere. Let me write these down, and so I'll remember to. Was that, it was a boggy, what was it? Boggy Creek or boggy? Boggy Bottom. Actually, I just finished a Cumberland. It's not a killer, you know, it's not a super great one, but check out my profile right up here, Warren. I just made it yesterday, actually. And then there was the Fishtail Benton. And then somebody said pine tree also. And I'll do some looking up and some seeing what kind of material I've got that would be appropriate for those. But I did make a Cumberland yesterday. It was from another biface that I had been working on that wasn't working quite right, and it just kind of seemed to work into that pretty well. This one actually, with it being raw, I could probably make a Cumberland out of it if it doesn't have a lot of these impurities in it. So those are a big no-no when you're trying to do a full-length flute. But yeah, Warren, if you like to see the fluting and that kind of stuff, I've got several videos on my profile where I've done that live. And I wish that flake was didn't have that little spot in behind it. I could take a big bunch of that mass off. as it is. I'm just going to have to be able to blend it in there. And guys, just, I mean, they were letting me know earlier too, any of you guys that are subscribed, that want to continue subscribing, they fixed that now so you can re-up your subscriptions. And I'm gonna do a giveaway as a celebration of that for active subscribers in the month of February. So if you've been a subscriber before and your subscription ran out through all of this, whatever, go ahead and resubscribe and you'll be eligible for that giveaway. I haven't set aside a point yet for it. Now I do have one. We're going to give this one away. Is it still not? You may have to re-download it, Jim. I noticed that yours said that you were getting ready to lose your stuff on there. But like I said, if you guys have been active during this month, then I'll include you in it, because it's been kind of a messed up deal. But we'll get to 5,000 followers on the channel, then I'm going to give this away to somebody at my expense. I'll ship it to them. And as always, now they have fixed some of the stuff as far as the auto likers and all that, and they're not allowing that stuff. So we get a big enough in here where we get 100,000 likes, and I'm going to send this gorgeous Tallahassee quartzite Dalton to somebody. You got to update in Play Store. There you go. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. And then I made this one the other day, finished it up, but this is some of that Horse Creek that Terry sent me. Just some super beautiful material. And Bubba's got this one coming to him. This was my subscriber point for last month. I just haven't got to the post office to get it mailed. So I'm going to do that today. But any of you guys that, like I said, for the subscriptions and stuff, I sure appreciate it. Also, like I said, guys, if you want to see a particular point style being made, I'd be more than happy to try them. If I have the material, fine. I've had folks send me some material to work on a point they want to watch me make. That's fine too. If you wanna send me material, I'm not gonna say no to rock, but by no means feel, you don't have to feel obligated to do that. If I've got the material and I know how to make the point style or can research it, I will definitely give it a shot. Now we can start. See, that's the same thing that I do. Right on, Don. I'm looking forward to that. I really am. I'm going to have to look up some cool point styles to make with that. But you see how those two flakes that I took right there, how those really started to go across there. Those are no different than two little pressure flakes on a similar, proportionate sized biface, if I'm pressure flaking. So it's the same process that I do over and over, just with a bigger tool and more force or less force. Now there's a little spot right there with a little ridge. I'm not gonna try to take a lot of material. It's just gonna be a blending flake just to keep that clean, You see how that just tailed right across the top of that and just flattened that out nice. And it gave us this next ridge. But yeah, Don, I'm looking forward to that. I'm gonna look up some point styles because I've heard it can be some tough stuff to work. 1900 is the max amount of taps per live per person. Oh, huh. I will invite you to Marvin here. Oh, right on. Thank you. I appreciate it, Don. Yeah, I'm always looking to, like I said, I'll try a new point style, new material. Was hoping for a little bit better flake out of that. I kind of let up on my punch. Oh, awesome, Don. Does he work with stone tools, or is more copper, or? Yeah, I'm going to lose a little bit of width here because of the steep. Right on, Don. Because of the steepness of this lump there. But it's not going to be too bad. There's just that ridge right there. This is like a heck of a turtleback, but it's off to one side, and I got it. It's opposite both sides like that. So. Clean up my edges. Try to get one more right here, and then we're gonna, tell you what, we're not gonna do that one yet. I'm gonna kind of isolate it a little bit more. Oh, he knows Ed? Yeah, I've got to nap with Ed at Water Creek Nap In a few years ago. He came down there, and that's when I got to meet him in real life, so to speak. Anymore we meet so many of our associates is so much stuff online anymore that I think it's really cool. I met Paul Vaughn comes in here every once in a while. Paul, I met him last year at Water Creek for the first time in real life. All right, let's get a little flake back here. Now, it's the same thing that we were trying to do a while ago with those others. You can see how steep this is and how that area right here where my finger's at, there's like a steep, let me get it to where you can see how steep that edge is. See how it's really, if I tried to drive a flake into that, it's just going to go in there and stop. Yeah, I think he said he was going to be down there, Brizzo. Yeah, and I've not got to meet Brizzo yet. I know he's been to a few of the nap-ins that I have frequented and knows a few people that I know. I've been down and napped with Brady at his and even stayed at Brady's place and napped with him there at his cabin. So looking forward to meeting some of you guys in the next few seasons of nap-ins. All right, I'm gonna have this on here. We're gonna pull. See how much of that we just rolled off the whole top without hardly losing any of the profile from the side. We lost almost no width and had all that mass come off that piece. Right on, I will do that. The name sounds familiar, Don. I think I've heard of him. All right. I mean, and again, you can see how curved that flake is? This is where it detached. Right here is the platform. You can still see a little bit of remnant of the antler on it. And it's just a curve. Now this is where, at this point, we've started to get it kind of tamed down, and everything is gonna, this is when it'll come together better. All right, same thing we normally do with the pressure flaking. You can see how this edge, and I've got an area of mass here, but I've got a pretty steep, I'm gonna try to take this stuff in a series of flakes and isolate that mass. And take a downward flake here, across the base. You see how that already took that mass from behind that and thinned that. And you're gonna set up another one right next to it. More mass off of that. And you can see how that isolates this area right here even more so. And how thin that's already thinned out that base, or the tip there, well, base. So then it's kind of a miniature little zigzag, just a crossback. Well, right on, Mad Dog, I appreciate it. You know, and that's part of it for me, is the puzzle. You know, if I had tried to attack this rock a different way with the seams, and you know, it's still got some impurities right here in it, but we just about got it to a point where once you start building that convexity, then it gets really easy to shape the rock. But if you try to take those flakes too soon, you're just fighting against yourself. And that's the hardest thing, I think, for a lot of new nappers to learn, is instead of just, you know, trying to blow off these big flakes, is trying to get the contours so that they'll accept that energy. This right here should take the majority of the mass of the top of this piece. Right here is my platform, and I'm going to do a similar holding technique where I'm going to tilt this piece up and this way and try to get that to run up into this diagonally. I didn't take as much of it as I wanted, but it still took a good amount. I could have used a little bit more angle there, and I think it would have worked better, but let's clean that up. Lower it just a little bit. That's what a lot of it happens, because Mad Dog, is you're thinking, I want to get it thin soon, and you know, if I'd have thought that way with this, I mean, you were in here when this started. It's still thick and clunky, but it's now more organized to where I can purposely set those angles to get the profiles and the removals that I want. And you see how that, now that I've got some convexity built in that piece, how that's taking down that edge. Now we've got another ridge right here. Dress it just a little bit better. It's a little weak. took out some more mass right there. Now we've got an area here. I don't want to get it too thick, so I've got a little bit of a thin area and a couple of thicker areas before and after. That flake went a little deeper than I expected. So you can see the little ridge, and that's my platforms right there. Get the other one from the other side. Now that one went a little deep that way. Let's see. That's better. Now you can see where we started taking that material off from this end, how it's tapered down. We got one more little area right there of width or of thickness, but it's not too bad. There's a little bit of a step fracture there, so we can work around that on the next series. But all right, Carson, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Now we're gonna get this area from the front here. We've got a little bit of mass right in here. And it's the same thing. We're gonna start with this tip. We're gonna start isolating that mass. It's pretty thin up here already. There's one little flake right there. That one cleared that. You can see how that's starting to isolate that area. Now we've got this mass here. You can see where that went and used all of the convexity that was in that, all of the turnover. Here's the flake, or the initial. So I struck it here, and that went all the way to here and here on this side. And it went over the top of that ridge. And what it's doing is it's curving, you know. You can see there's a big seam impurity junk right there. It doesn't look like it goes through the other side, so hopefully we can work that out. And what I'm going to do here is just turn this edge just a little and start getting I want just enough of a turned down edge where I can come back. We've got this turtle back on this side. You can see this side how we've got it flattened out, fairly flattened out. There'll be some more work on it, but now we've got this area of mass on this side. So I'm going to work on turning this to where it's in line with removing, you know, that mass. Come on, there it went. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can get lucky and take some of this mass off this tip. Now, it's about, I don't like to do this much after it gets this thin, but if I just take a nice little easy flake like that, that took a lot of mass off the back side of that area. all these little flakes, I'm just trying to get a little bit more of an angle for the side where the mass is at. Just get enough to where I can turn an edge to get it's all about like angles and leverage is really what it's about. So I'm gonna see how this is kind of turned to this side. Got all this mass right here. So I'm gonna work from either end of the center. That was a really aggressive flake, and I had to take it that way because of the contour of the back here. Now I've got a little bit of material to give, so we'll almost do like a little zigzag flake right there. And again, this is going to be one of those rollover type flakes where I'm going to tilt up the biface. That one didn't go though. I went in there and step fractured. That's okay though. We'll come out. There's some more of that seam. You see how that junky stuff in there. All right, so now we've got a little bit better working edge on both sides. And now it's just a matter of setting up platforms to the sides where the mass is the highest or the most. Got another little flake right here that'll flatten the tip of this a little. Another spot right here. Well, we're getting close to the end of the time here, guys. But I think, if I remember correctly, this might, this would be pretty close to like a Benton type biface here. So I'm gonna do some studying after I get off here. I've got those point styles written down that you guys were requesting, and I'm gonna see, you know, the regions and the material that they were typically made out of and all of that. And those will be some future topics on the live. So I appreciate you guys, you know, shouting that stuff out and requesting and all that, because, you know, it gives me some more stuff to look up and study, and keeps this interesting for me too, you know, working the puzzles. Let's get a couple more good flakes right across the center of this, and then we're going to set it aside for today. Well, I don't like that area there, though. There's where that gouged out, that trashy looking crack part there. But Absolutely. Let me write that down. What did I do with my... I definitely can make a Cahokia point. I've made a few. Now that would be... that's going to be mainly a flake point, and I'll probably adjust my my camera view and try to put that to where it's just down on my hands, like, you know, really close over the top, because the Cahokias that's just a lot of pressure flaking, and I have made several of them. Pertinellis. I had somebody else request that here a ways back, Roland. So let me write that down. All right. Guys, I appreciate the input. I do. You know, and like I said, if it's something that I've got material for, I'll be more than happy to give them a shot. I just typically don't like making points out of material that they weren't made out of historically. So I will do my best with what I have. It's kind of what I got on my profile. Just a modern day Neanderthal doing the best I can with what I got where I'm at. How did the fish... Oh, I was like, I don't remember making a fish hook, Don. I've made a few gorge hooks out of bone, but I've never napped a fish hooks. All right. Well, guys, I mean, I'm a little past time, but I think I'm going to try to set this up to get this last little bit of mass over here. If that's okay with you. Brizzo was trying one. Yeah, those, anytime you're dealing with stuff like that where there's a lot of pressure flaking, you know, that's where your support and vibration dampening and all that stuff. Tool placement. You really have to be careful with that, with those, you know, because your flakes are going to want to travel and propagate cracks, and you got that force that you're trying to deal with. And now I did that little, this is not near as curvy as a fish hook, but this is a little Buffalo River rattlesnake with some lines where the tail was, and I just made some little rattles. But it's the same concept. When you get something it's that thin and long like that, you're just trying to support it so that you're not bending it. Like I said, that's not near as you know, curvy or whatever as a fish hook, but I don't do a lot of effigy type stuff. Most of the stuff that I do is you know, actual point styles and stuff. Now I know that there's some, you know, the fish hooks and stuff, I just don't do many, or haven't done a big one. Just the gorge hooks out of bone. All right, we're gonna see if we can turn this edge here and get this to flatten out a little bit. All right, these are gonna be some pretty, the first couple of flakes I'm gonna really try to set a ridge for this to follow, so I hope I don't break it in the process, because it's pretty aggressive flakes once I get it started. Yeah, that didn't get as much of it as I wanted, but I think we're still in a width to thickness. You know, we're still close to like a Benton or something like that once this is cleaned up. I could probably make a, no, I don't like that spot in it. Otherwise, I'd say I could make a, or try to make a Cumberland out of it. But I may end up changing my mind. Depends on how far that goes. But I think it goes through that rock diagonally, and I think that's where that other part of that comes out. So more than likely, the thinner I get it, the more likely I'm going to be to expose that seam. So I may do a little work on it off camera and get it set up, and we'll see what it looks like. But I got a little bit of that. All right, guys, I'm a little bit past what I said I was going to do, so we will pick back up on Monday. Hope you guys have a really great weekend. And enjoy those of us that are in the areas that's warming up a little bit for the next couple of days. Enjoy it, because it's getting ready to get bad again. Cold. So if you guys, hey Mad Dog, I appreciate it. Joel Ends, it's Joe Ends, I don't, but thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. And guys, again, thank you for those of you that resubscribed. I guess they've got that all, figured out. So we're going to do a subscriber giveaway at the end of this month. I haven't decided which point I want to give away yet. We'll come up with something. Bryce Bourne, thank you for you. Have a good weekend too. But we'll be back in here. I don't know what we'll work on. I'll figure something out and put a post out, and we'll work on something for sure. So, guys, have a great weekend. Be careful. Take care of yourselves and others. Don, I think you guys are getting ready to get some more snow and stuff up that way. So, man, you better, bundle up and be prepared, guys. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you at 8 o'clock on Monday. Keep chipping.